What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be checking out something a little bit special, actually. This is a little bit off-brand for me, but this is ultimately Battlemercs. This is a game that actually caught my attention through you guys. Somebody popped on into my Discord and was like, hey, have you heard about this tiny project? It's making kind of the go-around on Sarna.net. And if you guys don't know what Sarna.net is, basically it's the ultimate repository for everything Mechwarrior and Battletech. And there's a guy named Jay who has been working on this fastidiously for a long time. And what Battlemercs is it's a top-down RTS auto-battler using all of the mechs and whatnot from Battletech and Mechwarrior. It's completely free right now. It's hosted through a Google Drive. I've been playing the game all morning just to kind of get a feel for it and what it's trying to do. On top of that, it's also open source, so this is fully moddable. And the developer kind of has put out the call. He doesn't really have like the reach in order to get access to the things he needs in order to keep the game moving forward with his own skill sets. And so while the game is actually implemented pretty well right now, he's putting the call out for, like music. He needs background music. He needs pixel artists. He needs people to help him out with this because mostly it's been using assets from really old Battletech games. And so anyways, like I said, Battlemercs, this is a top-down, customizable, I suppose, auto-battling RTS RPG where you take multiple lances of mechs, and since you guys like the Mechwarrior 5 video, I thought you might also dig this. However, it's going to be a little bit of a quiet day because this game doesn't have a whole lot in terms of like background music or anything else. It's got some very basic sound effects, but this is a game where you run a mercenary company and you take on missions, just like in Mechwarrior 5. The only difference is the way that the game is presented to the player. That is, you control it kind of like Command and Conquer or any of those games. So we're going to dive on in for about 25-30 minutes and see if it's something that you wanted to add to your wish list or otherwise pass on. Okay, there's no wish list in this case. There's just a Google Drive folder. That's about it. But I am interested to see if we can hug that Google Drive folder to death. And maybe you guys can get, if you've got pixel art skills, if you've got music skills, you know how to make chip tunes, or you know how to make EDM or synthwave or whatever else, maybe you can help out with the project. Maybe if you're an aspiring modder, you will see this and be like, ooh, I can do something with this. Maybe you'll reach out and be able to get into contact with him there. So let's dive on in, shall we? If after watching this, you wanted to comment directly to me on the game, you can find me on Twitch TV, you can find me on Discord, I've got those links down below. But for right now, let's go ahead and start a new career in Battlemercs. So with our new career, we get to pick a starting era. We can be kind of like in the midst of secession wars, we can be kind of like during the clan invasion. The game doesn't go all the way out to something like, the Dark Ages or whatever else, for those of you that are familiar with Battletech. But what the developer has said, I've read an interview or two, I kind of prepped for this because I care about Mechwarrior. I care about Battletech. These are things that I like, and I don't like things very often. And it's kind of one of those enjoyable things I've carried from my childhood all the way up until my middle 30s. But anyways, there's different time frames. This is effectively, it's not really a grimdark universe, but it's a cynical, nihilistic, ultra-capitalist, feudalist, totalitarian universe where people have gone to space and we robot fight each other to settle all of our grievances. And there's different time periods where different things are happening. This game has like 1,500 years of established lore because the game is now, 40 years old. And they've got constant books and constant video games and things like that, adding more to the nebulous. We'll start out in the Secession Wars for right now because that makes things easier. We also get to choose what our starting house is going to be. So in this universe, everything is run by 5 houses in the inner sphere. You've got Steiner. These guys are Germanic feudal knights that are the richest. However, they've got the best of everything, but they're kind of terrible at logistics and they're kind of terrible at training. Their only solution to every problem is to throw money at it. And so they've got kind of a reputation for basically sending in way too much overkill for every single problem because they can afford to replace the losses due to ineptitude of their pilots and whatnot. You've got House Davian, or House Davian, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I've heard it both ways, depending on the game that you're playing. These guys are effectively sort of like there are no good guys in this universe, but Davian are kind of the good guys. They are kind of the descendants of English and French nobles in space. They have the most professional army. They don't have like the best of everything, but they are really good at logistics. They are really good at supply chains. They are really good at training and having an army that's standing, that is basically highly effective and also highly committed, I guess, would be the way that I would put it. There's House Kurita. This is Space Bushido. This is basically an extension of Imperial Japan in space. They dress their mechs up like samurai. They honor duel one another. If you dishonor yourself, you're expected to fall on your sword, all that kind of stuff. There's House Liao. House Liao is basically North Korea in space. They're a totalitarian dictatorship where their leader is both the head of state and also kind of like a deity, and everybody is expected to basically understand and accept that they are the property of the state. And then there is House Merc. House Merc is kind of like the Space Balkans. They're kind of like fashioned after Austro-Hungarians. They've got like, they dress their mechs up like hussars with big golden wings and things of that nature. Lots and lots of infighting, lots and lots of turmoil, but ultimately they usually manage to circle the wagons and get everybody on the same page when it's time to ride out on the other factions. For right now, we will probably start out as Merrick, because I like the idea of my entire campaign basically just being an extended Sabaton album. And then we get to choose what our starting Merc unit is. It's up to you. For the sake of brevity and making sure that we actually do something in this video, I'll probably go for the easy start. If you start out on small or regular, you're going to be expected to kind of fly around the galaxy and find like pilots and find mechs and buy everything from scratch. This one right here basically gives you an established unit that's already experienced. They already know what they're doing. It gives you some decent mechs. And so it's going to save us that kind of 20-25 minute process. So let's go for that right there. The year 3025 marks the end of the Third Succession War. However, conflicts show no signs of abating. It is clearly only a matter of time before another full-scale Succession War plunges the universe into chaos. Until then, the five great houses of the Inner Sphere vie for power. Among them are the houses Steiner, Davian, Kurita, Liao, and Merrick. Each of the major houses are eager to employ mercenaries to supplement their forces and carry out raids and attacks. Negotiate your contracts and earn your place in history, mercenary. So here we are. This is what the game looks like once you're actively playing it. We've got our little guy right here. We've got a bunch of civilians flying around. Over here, we've got the spaceport. If you wanted to, you can go to the spaceport and you can fly all over the established galaxy and go wherever it is that you want to go in order to find conflict and also find pay. You can right-click to get out of any of the menus. This right here is the Mech-It Lube. This is the place you go to customize your mechs. So if I wanted to mod my mechs right now, it looks like we started out with an Archer. That's a mighty fine mech. That's actually one of my favorite mechs. We've got an Ostrak, which I am not familiar with. And so the Ostrak is not one of those things that I'm going to be able to comment on too heavily, but each of your mechs is going to be customizable. They do not have set hardpoints in this game, which I think will be very, very exciting for some people that really like to fiddle and customize. I haven't quite figured out how to add more heat sinks and whatnot to my various mechs. I assume that you were able to do it somehow, but I haven't figured out how to do it just yet. Maybe it's not implemented yet. It's kind of tough to tell with these tiny projects, but ultimately building any mech is kind of trying to figure out how can I alpha as much as possible. If you don't know what an alpha is firing all of your weapons simultaneously. How can I alpha as much as possible without reducing my core down to a pile of molten nuclear slag? And so anyways, heat sink's kind of important for that process. And then we've got a Phoenix Hawk, which is actually not a bad mech either. So I think we've got a pretty decent start here. I like the Archer, I like the Trebuchet, I like the Phoenix Hawk. A potential worry I have is maybe that we don't have enough frontline brawling. Like, we are very, very, very heavily invested in kind of like the LRM-20 takes up 3 slots. Okay, now these have 12 ammo inside each one. Okay, 4 medium lasers. This guy's going to overheat like crazy. I've been an Archer pilot long enough to know this is one of my favorite mechs. This thing is going to overheat like crazy. I could tell you right now. The 4M lasers with like the LRM-40s and like I don't have double heat sinks or anything else like that to offset it. Engine heatsink kits and whatnot might get a little bit hectic. But those are our mechs. That's what we have. We've got a couple of guys that are good for the front line, a couple of guys that are good for the back line with long-ranged weaponry. All right, let's go see if we can find ourselves a Jorb. You go up to Comstar here. If you don't know who Comstar is in the context of Battletech, Comstar is basically who runs Earth now that the galaxy is fragmented. The Star League that unified everything has fallen apart. Comstar, they're basically the guy behind the glass. They're a small faction that has access to ridiculous levels of lost tech. They're kind of like the Mechanicus, basically all they're interested in is flying around the galaxy, thieving the best technology they can find from forgotten ages, and using that to kind of like exude soft power all over the galaxy. They're also responsible for the reason why everybody is able to communicate in the galaxy. And so they're basically like a weaponized AT&T or like a weaponized Verizon. Most factions don't want to mess with Comstar because Comstar can just kind of turn off your jump relays and turn off your communications networks, which means that your isolated star system will now starve and no one will be able to get to it. And so they have a lot of power, even though they're kind of a smaller faction. Let's check for contracts here. We'll see what we can do. We've got garrison duty. So the Free Worlds League needs your help against a force of bandits. This mission is a garrison duty on a moon battlefield against medium bandit scout force. Okay, we also have this one over here, which is they want us to go and eliminate a local garrison. I'll probably go for the local garrison. This one looks a little bit harder. You can actually do negotiations in this game. So we get $200,000 in advance for this mission. We get $900,000 if we fulfill the mission. We get to make 2 picks of salvage from 4 options. And all of these things are clickable, and all of these things can actually be negotiated. So let's say that I wanted to bring, let's call it 270 tons. I could offer that. And then they actually proposed a counter offer. We can bring 3 mechs. I'm going to see if I can bring 4. There we go. We lose all of our salvage rights, which is kind of a bummer. But we can bring all 4 of our units. I'll give that a go. That seems okay to me. And you definitely want to make sure that you are negotiating. Now, it took me a minute to figure out how to negotiate. You basically click on the box, and then you use the arrow keys on your keyboard to go up and down along thresholds. Let's go see what this mission's got going on for us. So on launching a mission, it's going to give us a preview of the battle map right here. We've got our mechs, and we've got our pilots. So we've got Idris Lean, 8 piloting and 9 gunnery. Good lord, these guys are just battle gods. Okay. So with the targeting, we'll probably want to put you inside the Ostrock. When it comes to our secondary crew, it looks like we've got piloting and gunnery over here. We'll probably want you to be inside the Archer. We're going to want to babysit these units very, very carefully, though, because they tend to engage in ways that can be a little bit terrifying. Everybody has skills in this game. I don't know if these secondary skills right here are actually fully implemented yet. And so anyways, the piloting and the gunnery, they seem to affect like your speed and your evasion and your means to not get hit. There seem to be dice rolls taking place when the different mech lances are like auto battling with each other. And so I don't know if it's just gunnery versus piloting whenever you fire on somebody. I'm not too sure about how the intricacies of the game work. But these secondary things over here, I don't know if they're implemented or if they work yet in the current build. But your pilots, they do level up. They do get better at their skills. They do become, you know, they go from being completely green to being elites if they survive long enough, that kind of stuff. I'm hoping these secondary skills ultimately end up mattering at some point. They haven't yet in the hour and a half or so that I've been playing the game, but maybe someday. We'll put you inside the Trebby Boy, and we'll put you inside the Phoenix Hawk, and that actually gets us in right under tonnage, so that's good. Let's go ahead and launch it. All right, so here are our mechs on the battlefield. All of them have been deployed. What we need to do is we need to scout around, and we need to figure out where these bad guys are at. Now, what makes this game unique is that, as you can see from the sidebar, ultimately, you get to command a force of like 12 mechs, which is pretty cool. Like, there's not a whole lot of Battletech games out there that allow you to deploy more than 1 lance. Usually for the case of simplicity, they limit the player to having 4 units in pretty much every Mechwarrior in every Battletech game ever. But this one allows you to actually have 12 guys, which means we need like a Union dropship or something a little bit bigger. Now, we don't know where the enemy is at. There's a big military installation up here, so there's a chance we should probably go check that out, but they can really be just about anywhere. Now, line of sight in this game is really, really limited. Sometimes you're not going to be able to see exactly what you're walking into, and in fact, I think that's a good change, is that line of sight needs to be expanded a little bit in this game. It needs to be a little bit longer. Like, there's a lot of missions that expect you to, like, intercept guys that are trying to run to, like, an end zone or whatever, and actually finding them on the map can be a little bit of a nightmare, especially if they're, like, super dedicated to making... Oh, there they are right there. Okay, so what do I have here? Archer, you get in the water. Trebuchet, you get in the water. That'll make them cool faster. Ostrock and Phoenix Hawk, you guys are out front. Let's go ahead. Ostrock and Phoenix Hawk, I want you guys to target that Clint right there. Both of you guys target the Clint. And so as you can see, we're skirmishing, we're fighting. I'm going to need to get the Phoenix Hawk out of there because he's taking too much damage. If you don't give them a command about who you want them to shoot at, they will just pick somebody and fire their guns wildly, in case you were wondering. Okay, so we've got another kill right there. Let's pull the Ostrock back. We've got to kind of like try to protect him a little bit. The fight, however, is going kind of poorly, so we might have to have our range guys tank a little bit just to make this thing happen. Everybody focus on the Enforcer, please. Okay, that's another mech down, and then everybody on the Hunchy. Hey, and the last enemy mech collapses. You have defeated all the enemies on the battlefield. Now, what were we looking at while we were playing this? Well, what we were looking at is you can give people a hold order or you can give them an engage order. If you give them an engage order, they're not going to hold their ground. They're going to kind of like wander around and try to dodge enemy fire while returning fire. I had everybody on hold mode because I wanted them to stay in the water, because every single time you discharge a weapon, it increases this heat gauge. And if this heat gauge goes all the way up to the top, it shuts down your reactor and you've got to wait to cool off, and you're basically just a victim waiting to happen. The meters up here, this is your armor. This is your internals. This is the health of the pilot. I haven't seen a pilot actually take damage yet in the time that I've been playing the game, so I'm guessing that's a mechanic that's not quite in yet. You also have a list of your weapons down here. So anyways, you can activate these, you can deactivate these in order to conserve heat. Your pilots and their piloting skill and their experience will determine how frequently they overheat. So a newbie pilot is basically just going to mag dump and overheat himself over and over and over and over again, whereas an experienced pilot in this game will make a judgment call when it comes to the auto battle. He'll actually do a little bit of inside the head arithmetic to figure out whether or not he has enough heat threshold to fire what weapons. And both of those things can be a blessing or a curse. Congratulations, we did our contract. Free Worlds League has transferred 875,000 C-bills to your account. Very nice. I think we're probably going to have to do a little bit of patching up. We lost our salvage rights on that last one. This game does have some interesting ideas as far as salvage rights go. They've got things in here that I wish existed in like Mechwarrior 5. So when you complete a battle and you've got salvage rights, what can effectively happen is you'll get various components like wires or armor plates or, things of that nature, and you can use them in lieu of taking additional payment or picking up extra weapons or extra mechs in order to basically patch up your mechs from the refuse of the battle, which is kind of a cool feature. I like that a lot. You have any mechs for sale? He's got a Stinger. He's got a Commando. I like the Commando a lot. I think the Commando is a really good mech. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Commando. In fact, I think the Commando and the Firestarter both are probably recipients of the title of the most primo light mechs. Like, both of those little guys right there, you can make them do some pretty gnarly stuff. I've seen Commandos and I've seen Firestarters punch way outside their weight class if piloted properly. And so anyways, do we have any patching up that needs to be done? The Commando needs to have a little bit of a spit polish, so that's good. We'll go down to the bar. We'll see if maybe we've got a new pilot around. We have Neith Macheski. She's not very good. Actually, she's got okay gunnery. Her gunnery is not bad. However, her piloting is kind of terrible. It's okay. She'll get better. It's fine. She'll get better. That's my excuse for everything. Let's head on over to Comstar and see what other contracts we have available. So they want me to defend a supply depot. Okay. That contract might be a little bit difficult. It's a pirate scout force, which means the vast majority of their mechs are going to be sub 40 tons, which I know from experience against an archer means that a lot of them are just going to get chewed up and murdered trying to close the gap to the objective. Let me go ahead and close this out real fast, and I'm going to save my game real quick. There we go. Perfect. Save your game. Sometimes this game likes to crash on you. It hasn't crashed on me, but in watching other people play it, it's crashed on them. And so anyways, this mission's going to be a little bit tougher. I'm actually a little bit worried about this one. I'd like to have 2 salvage rights, and I'd like to bump that up. I'll bump that down to make it seem more appealing. They find my offer acceptable. Okay, sure. Absolutely. There's no like meter or anything that tells you what your chances are for the faction to accept your negotiations are. I've just kind of got a feel for it. I've got like, I kind of like understand what they're going to go for a lot of the time. We'll put the commando out right there. We'll put Neath in. So now we've got our second lance started. That's good. I'm a little bit worried about this fight. That's why I saved before we went in, as I feel like this is not going to work out for me. Oh, I'm over tonnage. Rip. I should have actually added a little bit more tonnage. I didn't do my math properly. All right, well, we're going to have to drop somebody here. Yeah, go ahead and remove that unit. It's the best that we can do. With these 4, we'll have to make the whole thing function. So we've got to defend this building over here. Enemy forces have landed. We kind of want to see where they're at, but line of sight in this game is really, really rough, so it can be hard to glean. We don't know what direction they're going to hit us from. My guess would be... honestly, tough to say. Oh, there they are right there. Okay, fire the missiles. Everybody on that javelin. Javelin is daddy. Oh, boy. Yeah, they have a lot more units than I thought they would have. Everybody open up on him. Everybody open up on that locust, please. If you have the means to murder the locust, I would appreciate it if you would murder the locust. Is he coming around this way? Nope, he's staying on this side. Enemy reinforcements are inbound. Well, that's like 7 different flavors of bad. All right, let's get everybody on engage mode. I don't know what direction these guys are going to come in from, but you know what? Just, like, reduce them to giblets the best that you can. I don't know. We may pull this off, just by nature of the fact that the enemy is running, like, a lot of really, really light mechs. Depends how many more waves there's going to be. We killed those guys off pretty quick. It seems like most of the attacks are coming from the... oh, no, dude, there's a guy with a PPC down here. Hold on, we got to go handle this. There we go. What is that? Like, oh, it's a Panther. That explains why he's got a PPC, even though he's a light mech. And just like that, we finished off the enemy, no problem. And this time around, I get to show you the salvage system. So with the salvage system, you can gamble. So we found a chassis of a mech that we destroyed. We have a 40% chance of salvaging it. I don't know if there's any skill changes or anything you can make that increase that chance. We've got a machine gun over here that we could pick up, or we could just sell spare scrap, which I think is a good idea. So we made like 200K from selling scrap right there. Let's go ahead and go back, and I'll probably go to the Mech-It Lube, and we need to patch up our mechs. So let's go ahead and get our Mechy boys feeling all nice and squared away. We should probably check the bar again for another pilot, just in case. We've got Dirk Arlith. He's kind of terrible. Like, he's not a great pilot. We've got Jace Panic Wyrick. We've got Hawk Barlow. Well, with a name like that and a mustache that exudes power, how could we not hire him? Do we have any mechs around? You know, I hear some planets host black markets where a merc can find just about anything. Of course, I wouldn't know about such things, but if I were to go looking, I would guess that weapon shops would make a really good front for such a market. Okay, I mean, there are weapon shops around. It's not that building, it's this one. If we go into the weapon shop, you can ask if they have anything. I've never seen anything come up inside the weapon shops, but it may just be because I tend to stay in sort of like fringe periphery crappy systems that don't really have a whole lot going on. We've got another defense of a supply depot. I would say to bump that up to 250 so I can actually bring all my mechs. And then we bump this down to like 5 units. And then we take 3 salvage rights. The offer is acceptable. All right, they don't mind the offer. Well, I don't mind making it, so let's go ahead and do this thing. We need another mech, I think. What mechs do you have for sale? We've got another commando. We've got a wasp. We've got a stinger. I do like the stinger. I mean, I don't know. I kind of prefer the commando, in all honesty, over the stinger. If I've got to pick something. We'll take the stinger. Why not? Let's diversify. Go ahead and patch up my stinger for me. There we go. My stingy just been stung. And we will launch the mission. We've got 25 tons to play around with. That means what I'll probably do is I'll probably throw the commando in here just to get that perfect allotment. And then Hawk Barlow, or he's got laser skill. So I'm going to put him in because there is indeed one laser on this little mech. We're supposed to be defending this facility right here. Enemy forces have landed. My commando is isolated right now. It looks like, actually, if you put them on engage mode, they kind of seem to know where the enemy's at. Or at least they're, like, patrolling or something. Oop, you guys come over here. They're destroying my building. That is my most favorite square of stucco. We should probably do something about that. Everybody engage. Pick a target. Blast them to pieces. Use every last little bit of ordnance you can possibly muster. They're not really focused on us, which should make this fight a little bit easier. However, this building is a little bit more finicky than the last one that we had to defend. All right, mechs, what you got going on? Are they going to attack from the south again, or is it just completely and totally random? I don't honestly know, in all fairness. It looks like it's kind of random. They just come from the direction that they come from. If you have the high ground in this game, it does matter. So if you're up on top of one of these hills, your accuracy goes up like through the roof. And so I would recommend taking hills or taking lakes or taking, you know, whatever supplementary things you can in order to make your mission go simpler. Okay, nice little kill right there. Make them run the blockade, baby. If they want to attack my facility, make them earn it. Everybody cool down your CTs for a second. It looks like they've got... Oh, this poor little Irby, dude. He got left behind because he's slow. If you don't know what an urban mech is, an urban mech is basically a giant trash can on legs. And it's the equivalent of giving a 5-year-old a 50 cal Desert Eagle. It's a crappy mech that's super slow, has like no armor. It costs basically nothing. They were invented for machine gunning protesting civilians. That's literally their just riot suppression. Like, it's a turret on legs. It's a turret that is geographically flexible. And so, anyways, the urban mech, people love the urban mech. I am not one of them. I think the urban mech is largely obnoxious because every now and again, with their ridiculous AC-20 or whatever huge weapon they've strapped onto it, they managed to land a hit that basically cores one of your guys. I don't know if I want to restore armor on a mech. I'll sell... Oh, I can take basically everything. Okay, we'll restore the armor on that mech. And then I guess I'll take the Do I have anything with an LRM-10 on it? I think everybody's running 15s or bigger. In all honesty, what I need to do is I need to take this Archer, and I need to drop the LRM-20s for LRM-15s, or put 4 LRM-10s on there. There's almost no reason, unless you're trying to unless you have one hard point left. In my opinion, LRM-20s are kind of a trap. LRM-20s and large lasers. Those are two items in Mechwarrior that I personally feel like are traps. There are very specific situations where you might want to use one of those, but outside of those situations, it's almost universally better to use a medium laser or to use like an LRM-10 or an LRM-15. Like, LRM-20s and large lasers are a specific tool for a specific situation in a specific certain job. And outside of that, they are a waste, in my opinion. Ooh, we got more contracts. Nice. The elimination of a light patrol force. Okay. We've got a base raid. That might be kind of fun. Blow up some buildings. Bequeath some boom boom. We are going to need more tonnage, though. That tonnage allotment is not beautiful. Let's offer them 200 tons. And 4 units. We'll drop the C-Bill advance because it's basically nothing anyways. Oh, that's defense. I wanted elimination of light patrol forces. There we go. We'll bump this up to like 200. We'll bump that up to 4 units. We'll get rid of the C-Bill advance. And we'll bump that up to there. Your offer was received. We propose this counter offer. Not in love with the counter offer. I really want my tonnage. That's kind of where I'm at right now, is I want my tonnage. 3 units with a 210 max. Can you do 4 with 2 salvage options? There we go. I figured we'd be able to move things around on the margin. Honestly, the mission selection is actually pretty fair. Like, it, to me, feels like a real negotiation where you're like, I want this thing before I deploy. And then the other faction's like, okay, it's kind of outside of our budget. Would you take this? And then you're like, well, what if we drop one of the salvages, right? Because I don't really care about salvage at this point in the game that much anyways. And then what if we replace the salvage with me being able to deploy an extra pilot to guarantee success? And they're like, as long as it doesn't increase the cost of the mission, okay, sounds good. So we're a little bit over tonnage right now. We only get to bring 1 battle group with us. Let's consider who we can bring in with us. The Phoenix Hawk is the obvious place where we can drop some tonnage here. If we swap it out for a commando, I think that basically puts us kind of where we're at. And then the nice thing is that gives us a scout mech on site that can kind of look around for the enemy. All right, let's do this thing. We're supposed to be killing a patrol or something. Now you guys move along, and let's see what we can find around here. There's no way to really know if there's water or high ground. That's what I would prefer to use. Doesn't look like we really have either, though. Okay. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to take the scout mech, and let's actually make him scout and see if we can find an enemy around here. Oh, there they are. Pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back. Pull back. Don't get shot. Hey, the LRM boat's coming through right now. You guys, full engagement mode, weapons free. Draw them back into the trap, and then you snap it shut. That's how we do it right there. I'm going to micromanage the light mech a little bit because I'm worried about his HP. Actually, my archer got chewed on a little bit right there. That's a bit unfortunate. All right, you guys come back, take the hold order. We'll put you 2 out front. Scout mech, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I need you to figure out where the rest of this force is at. Ah, it's an Irby. Never mind. Go ahead and take him. I gotta micro a little better. There we go. All right, you guys march forward. Give me a couple missile salvos on him. There it is. The enemy mech is down. We've got 1 salvage choice. We can either take an AC-10 ammo box or we can take a medium laser. I'll take the medium laser. I'm a big medium laser guy, especially once you get up to the MP lasers. And also, oh my goodness gracious, the ERC lasers, dude. Foof. That's when things start to get hectic. But anyways, this is Battlemercs. I figured I'd throw together a short video because I love all things Mechwarrior and Battletech, and I very, very, very rarely ever get the chance to do anything regarding it. I'm a tiny bit worried that shining a light on this is going to lead to unexpected outcomes. But anyways, if you're a pixel artist, if you're a person that does sound tracking or music, if you're a voice actor that wants to do like, yes, sir, like you want to do like vocal comfort, you know, you want to do any of that stuff, the developer is looking to basically put touches on this game. Everything you're seeing right now is effectively a placeholder from what I've seen in interviews and whatnot. And so, you know, if you're a pixel artist or whatever, you may end up designing mechs, you may end up redoing buildings, you may end up making the world look a little bit grittier or a little bit darker or whatever else. Who knows? I don't know what the developer's vision is for this game. Apparently it's based on some old title from back in the floppy days that I never played. My first introduction to Mechwarrior was Mechwarrior 2. I did have games back in the floppy days, but they were not like this. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were messing around with Battlemercs, an open source mod, or like an open source fan game about Mechwarrior that has been created by a guy named Jay. More than that, I can't tell you. If you want to play it, it's free right now. You can go do that if you have any of the applicable skill sets. I don't know how you get in contact with ye oldie Jay, but he does have a YouTube channel. And so I'll try to link one of his videos down in the description as well, and hopefully you can do your own legwork there. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were checking out a title called Battlemercs. Tomorrow we'll check out something else. Thanks for hanging out with me, and that's about all that I've got. Bye, folks.